but nothing is actually being done. No power is being transferred. No controls are being given to that actual community to do what it wants to do. So it was literally a month of like discussions and panels that didn't necessarily benefit the community. Like, as a member of the Black community, like, we know what's up. You don't need to have someone telling me like, hey, there's racism, this is happening, this is bad. Like, we know.
So, do you think that okay? So it's easy to say, you know, whites or Asians or what have you should understand that the history of this being an African American culture, this being like hip hop and breaking and stuff, which is a subculture of just black culture, right? Because I don't like to say that hip hop is black culture. It's just a section of black culture, right? Um,
100%.
do you think that it's important for non African American blacks to be understanding of that same history?
100%, because these dances hold a lot of different things from our heritage. Like, I think the thing that people miss a lot is that they'll look at things in isolation. So they'll look at breaking and they'll be like, oh, it is what it is. It can't be possibly connected to anything else. But there are traditions that were passed on and specific things, whether it be dance steps, whether it be ways of functionings that were there way before breaking. Breaking put it in a certain packaging and did certain things with them. But if you trace back the lineage, so if you did like the slavery travel backwards, you end up realizing that, like, oh, this thing that happened in Haiti impacted that. Oh, this thing that happened in West Africa was actually something that we valued. Culture doesn't disappear from people. So that narrative that they enslaved people and they stripped them of their culture, no, we were limited in what we could do, but that doesn't mean that that culture disappeared. Culture is being passed on. So what I keep telling people is that when you're looking at hip hop, you're looking at African American culture, but just in the times that it is. So maybe we didn't have access to instruments, so the turntable was the next best thing to have a connection with music. So it's that deeper digging and understanding of the culture that people don't necessarily do. And that is important because at the end of the day, people look at hip hop culture and they're like, wow, it's amazing. Well, it's amazing for a reason, and it's amazing because of everything that it's built on.
Right. No doubt. Man, that's why this man is qualified to teach. Specifically, hip hop study 2.5. Oh man, he just rolled us right into it. So so what is hip hop study 2.5?
So it's something that I started, and it was really me being frustrated with my community because I was like, man, y'all really don't understand. Like, I'm listening to you speak. Like, y'all don't know basic history about hip hop. Like, a lot of people are into the dance, but they don't know the culture. Like,
Ooh, I just thought of something as you said that. Is that kind of like people um being in love with things that are black but not really in love with black people?
100%. So you
Oh
just see the
Lord.
you just see the surface of it. So for a simple example is you have b-boys that are be like, yeah, I'm a b-boy, I'm hip hop. I'm like, yo, you listen to hip hop music? They're like, nah. I'm like, then what are you saying? So it was my frustration with my community that I was like, man, the understanding of the culture is really low. So I started off as a really simple class. I would bring in people from my community. So I'd bring beat makers, graffiti writers, people who organize events to show people in the street dance community, like, you dancing is cute, but that's a small part of the bigger picture. I did it once and went super well. And then I decided to dig deeper. I was like, to me, stuff that was obvious wasn't necessarily obvious to other people. So let me dig deeper into that. And that's when I started digging and making connections between like traditional dances and breaking, between the griot, the oral tradition of speaking stories and rapping. So things that are part of the African American or African DNA that directly translated to the culture that people overlook because to them it's like, no, there's no way it could be connected. And that's grown. I've taught this study over 8 times now. I've had over 300 people take the study.
Mm,
So now, man, it's good.
that's dope, man. I think that it's also important too because it's like I would never, like, let's say for instance take a martial art but then know nothing about the people that martial art comes from. You know, I would just feel like that would just be incomplete. If that was the case, you might as well just start throwing hands. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, why take this martial art? You know,
100%.
right? Or even like learning a language and not knowing anything about the country where the language comes from. You know what I'm saying?
And I think that's one of the things that people don't realize, how embedded racism and perspective is in this society, is that Black cultures are the only places where people do that. That it's
Yeah.
perfectly fine to omit the history or the lived experiences. A lot of people don't know that, like, jazz dancing, swing, Lindy hop.
Most of the jazz bands of the time played in places where people danced because jazz was a music that almost forced you to dance. As jazz music spread all over the country, so did the new jazz dances of the 20s. The shimmy, the Charleston, the black bottom, the snake hips, and the Lindy hop.
That's Black dances, that's Black culture, blues. So it's really through that study educating people on the lineage when it comes to the culture. So you can understand now when people say, like, yo, hip hop is Black culture, and not you being like, no, it's for everyone. It's like, we didn't say everyone couldn't enjoy it, but you have to understand where it comes from, and you have to understand its value, not just come in and do as you please.
Right. And you're right. It does seem to that, you know, our cultures are the ones that it's like the do as you pleases. Versus if I go to, you know, participate in some other culture, hell, the place where they're teaching it might even be in their language. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's definitely gates up. Like, you're welcome to come, but just know what it is. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, dope, man. And I think that you know, what you're doing with this study 2.5 is really dope, because it's just so needed, you know, for people to get a full understanding. Also, you might be participating in breaking, and once you learn the history, you might be like, I don't want to be a part of this no more. You know, you might be participating in something that you don't even like.
100%, because that's the thing. Sometimes people participate from the perspective of what they can see, and then they start critiquing something. And I'm like, fam, didn't you know what you were getting into? It's like going on the court to play basketball, and then you see someone starting to throw 3-pointers, and you're like, that's not fair. I'm like, do you know the rules of basketball? Like, what's going on? Do you know why you're here? And that's the thing I think that it does to people. It lights a spark as to, okay, what is it that I'm actually getting into? It's not just the cool moves, but everything else that's behind it.
Right. Exactly, man. And you put up another post, man. Your posts are epic. Anybody, we're gonna make sure he tells us where to follow him, because his posts are epic. But you said that Quebec is trying to brand hip hop as white culture. How are they doing that?
100%.
And
So,
why do you think they're doing that?
so there's been hip hop in my city, Montreal, since 77, 75. Like, people were doing street dances, people were making music. And the reason why it's not really documented is because, first of all, no one cared about what Black people were doing, one. And the connection was that, like I said, a lot of migrant Black families still being connected. So, of course, if you have a cousin that's doing something dope, when you go back home, you try to do the same thing.
And not to
So there
cut you
was,
off, PM, not to cut you off, but you probably already knew this, but just to, you know, throw it out for the people watching. Did you know that Montreal was like a big city for the Black jazz musicians to go to back in the day?
They had all kinds of clubs in Montreal. You leave one, you go into another. And some clubs are open till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So exciting when you see it, time for the music to start and people coming in. And I can always remember Full House, which was nice, eh? No matter what, during the weekdays, people go to work, they go into the nightclub afterwards. Some people go from one club to another and then go to work and then start all over again. Montreal is wide open.
If you, Tammy, could talk more about his childhood and who his parents were before his father died, talking about their Garveyite philosophy, who Marcus Garvey was, how that influenced him and them.
Well, his parents met in Montreal at a Garvey meeting, a Universal Negro Improvement or UN Association or UNIA meeting in Montreal.
Yes,
Because-
and don't even get me started on that, because there's so much. Malcolm X's mom and dad met in Montreal. There's a lot of things that people don't know when it comes to like the connection between Black communities as a whole, and specifically Black communities and the city of Montreal. Because of the train system that was there, there was a lot of information. There was a lot of people moving through.
Right, and shout out to my guy that I work with and respect, Coach Evans. He actually won a Olympic gold medal in track.
My junior year, I ran against freshmen in college. I was going out for the junior national team, and I won the 200 meters, which was amazing for a 16-year-old to beat freshmen in college. But I won the junior nationals, and so from that point on, Coach Thompson just kept saying, "You can do this, man. You know, you can do this." I was disappointed. You know, I got second place. And that whole year, I hadn't lost. And so I'm standing there with my hands on my hips, and everybody else is excited. And this guy comes up to me, and I said, and he's like, "What's wrong?" And I said, "I got second." And he's like, "You made the Olympic team, no?" And it was an older gentleman, and he was really excited for me. And at that point, I was like, "Oh, wow, I made the Olympic team."
1976 Olympics.
Away they go, first time, and Corey got a magnificent start in lane 2, and Corey really taking them off. And once collapsed on the track, I'm not quite sure it is. And there's another one down, Hampton it looks like. No, Hampton in the centre, there's Corey. And Corey comes home in front with Hampton in second place, Evans third, and Benny in fourth. And Corey, the silver medalist in the 100, takes the 200 from Hampton. And in third place was Evans with Benny in fourth.
In Montreal.
Wow.
Yeah, he was fresh out of high school, 17 years old, got third place. Yeah, man. So, but back to what you were talking about. Quebec is tripping on hip hop.
Yeah, so there's been hip hop here. To me, off the bat, just the tagline "Black Lives Matter" doesn't make sense to me. Why do I have to tell people that my life matters? To who am I saying this? I come from a generation that's people who've taught me about the Black Panthers. Fight the power, EPMD. So for me, it's kind of like meh within the statement, but I understand. That's the first thing.
For more quality content from Beyond the Cypher with Illskillz, don't forget to press the like and subscribe buttons. Let us know how we're doing down in the comment section, and to make sure that you don't miss anything from the channel, smash that notification bell. We appreciate the love and support. Peace until the next episode.